Good evening. We'll call the Hawarden, Iowa City Council to order on Wednesday, August the 12th at 5:30 p.m. All present are council members and staff other than Corey Utek. First of all, thanks to our kind staff for remembering my birthday. I've been on Earth now 23,742 days, and so if you don't want to do the math, that's 65 days and 65 years and 2 days. So thanks for all the kindness that you shared. And as I told Jen earlier, they are black, so I don't know, unless that must just be the city colors. That's something. All we can get. Yeah. And then Jen did mention her birthday over this past couple days too. So happy birthday to you. Certainly not.
Thank you.
Certainly
Not black
not
yet.
this many, but so. Thanks for being with us tonight. We have a lot of ordinances to go through and other items and some good discussion, we hope, on a few other items. So thanks for being with us tonight. First standard agenda item is number 1A, approval of the July 22nd City Council meeting minutes.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Rob,
I'll second.
seconded by Jen. Questions or clarifications? All in favor then of the approval of the July 22nd, 2020 City Council meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes 5-0. Next, we'll have questions for claims for payment. I'll turn to my right for Tim with questions.
None.
Okay, Travis?
None, thank you.
Jen?
None, thank you.
Rob, questions?
No questions, thank you.
John?
None, thanks. So moved.
There's been a motion by John. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor then of the approval of the August 12th, 2020 claims for payment, say aye.
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 Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next, we have open business from the community. And we will move on from there. Excuse me, move to the mayor's report. The Hawarden swimming pool will be closing at the end of this week. Our thanks to the pool staff for all of their extra efforts in getting the pool open and keeping it safe for those that use the pool this summer. It's great to see the community center parking lot and lighting project being completed. This project certainly complements our great community center and the city office building. West Sioux schools will be starting hopefully later this month. Please welcome new families and new teachers to our community. Also, please drive with more caution as students will be walking and riding their bikes throughout our community to get to school and back home again. So it's always kind of a transition. And lastly, just a thought. For years, I've read books from this gentleman. He used to be a professor out at the University of Southern California, Leo Biscaglia. So a thought for us to think about positively, I believe, is this. Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, a listening ear, an honest compliment, or the smallest act of caring, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. So, as I mentioned earlier, as we welcome new people to our community with the school district and teachers, please keep that in mind and make them feel welcome here at the city of Hawarden. We'll move to staff reports, and Jacob, welcome back.
Yep, so since you guys have last seen me, I finished up some of my certification program. Next year I have 1 week or half a week, and then I'll be certified clerk. And then, and also with that, I was also gone for 2 weeks for the military. Came back one piece. It was all sick. I was in the office counting inventory. So just got back this week and starting the audit.
Hit the ground running,
Yeah.
just as well. Good, thank you very much. Mike?
I just got a couple of things this past week. We had our employee appreciation lunch we like to include the lifeguards in the summer help for that as they begin to leave. In addition to thanking the lifeguards, we also want to thank our summer help. With it being such a dry year, we were really able to utilize some of them in painting several things around town. So we had a crew of 2 out painting a lot of different things that really needed attention, so it was a good year for that.
You're done already.
I'm done.
All right, thanks. Larry, please.
A couple up.
I think it's on.
How about now?
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you.
Doesn't sound like it's on. Sorry about that. Just a couple updates. We were planning to have the Northwest Iowa Development annual meeting here. They have decided to go virtual this year, so we will not be holding that in the next coming month. So with that, we are on the slate to actually hold it in 2021. And this year, they're just going to do a couple of virtual speakers where everyone can chime in. Banner Committee is just wrapping up their first banner. We hope to have them ordered by next Thursday, and we'll progress from there on, depending on what the delivery time and everything else will be. This will hopefully be the first of 4 banner types that will be in the downtown that will hopefully rotate throughout the year. Been doing a lot of things with Northwest Iowa Development itself. I now sit on their board. We had our retreat in Sheldon on August 6th, and a number of executive committee meetings with that. Attended our Habitat for Humanity Sioux County meeting. They would like to do a Habitat house in Hawarden in 2021, so I'm currently working with them to find suitable locations to where they can do that. So we'll continue to work on that and hopefully have something buttoned up for them by the end of the year. Continue to work with a lot of our downtown businesses, clients that we have coming in, and a couple of prospect visits that we've had. Our census numbers are inching up slowly. We've passed 71.2%. According to our regional census worker that we work with on a regional basis, our record prior was 71%, so we hope to continue to inch toward a higher number that we've been able to do in prior years. They will continue to take self-assessment or the self-submittal of the census until October the 1st. And so we hope to see that number inch up. For those individuals that are interested, the COVID-19 protocols will be in place with the census workers as they come in. But if they would like to avoid having to interact with a census worker, I encourage people to fill it out online. If not, a census worker will come to a house that has been non-respondent, but they have certain procedures and protocols in place for that. Other than that, that's it.
Great, thank you. Travis, please.
The parking lot project, there'll be a final walkthrough Friday with a representative from the Iowa DNR, DGR, our engineer, just to get a final button up on the grant portion of that project. Letters went out yesterday to residents that own property that will be affected by the new flood insurance rate maps. Along with that letter, there's a website on there. It's iowafloodmaps.org. You can log in and check out the new map. Any questions and comments, they'll be directed to Jason Kahn. He's the flood insurance program specialist with the Iowa DNR. There's a phone number and email listed on that letter as well. I'd like to thank businesses and residents that were affected by the seal coating streets this year. We try to limit the impact of shutting down these streets temporarily while the work is completed. I think this year went very well. And lastly, we have an update on the work towards purchasing the west portion of Calliope Village. That property, currently we lease, a yearly lease with the South Dakota DOT. Right now we've submitted a plat to the South Dakota DOT for review, and then we've also should be getting an appraisal of the property back soon. So we're going to continue that project to get that area purchased.
Looks like some types of flags and things going on Highway 10. Is that in preparation for next year then, or?
I believe so. The engineers have been out looking at the grading they'll have to do on the sides of the roads to get their 4-foot rumble strip and side of the road. So,
That'll be a big project next year.
yeah, we're looking forward to Highway 10 getting done. That'll be pretty inconvenient during the work, but when it's all said and done, we'll be happy.
Yeah, you bet. Good. Thanks, Travis. Hey, Corey.
Howdy.
Welcome.
Just a couple things. Working on a lot of parking violations right now. For some reason, we've been getting a ton of calls with different people parking illegally in town. So I got the guys at night working on that, and then we're getting ready to do our overhanging limbs on the streets and the sidewalks. So we like to do that towards the end of the summer and early fall, so people can prepare and get those removed and trimmed up to the 14-foot level on the streets and the 8-foot level on the sidewalks. So other than that, it's been all good.
That's good. Council members have any questions of staff, or do you have any other general comments?
I think I noticed on the trail, I use the trail quite a bit. You've trimmed up a lot of those trees, and I just think that looks so nice. And it just kind of helps those future those trees once they start growing in 10, 15 years. But looks nice.
The younger they are as they grow.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Good, thank you very much. We'll move on to other agenda items. Our ambulance director, Jeff Nojava. Jeff, come on up. First of all, thanks a lot for your work and your crew's work. I know you're going to go over the reports today. You certainly aren't sitting still.
No, I think you guys all have the copy of the report that I gave to Mike. I'll go through it here real briefly, and then I'll entertain any questions that the council may have. I've been doing EMS now in Hawarden for 38 years, and this past year has been by far the busiest year we've ever had since I've been on the squad. Give you a little history. 2018 to 2019 fiscal year, we had 377 calls for service. From July of 19 to 20, we had 518 calls for service. I broke it down. Those total calls, there was 263 were 911 calls, 233 were transfers, and 22 of those calls were like standbys for fire or lift assists or calls that we got canceled on. As you can see in your paper, the breakdown of the calls where we go, it's probably about 3/4 to Sioux Falls and about 1/4 to Sioux City. The calls broke down during the hours. Our shifts run from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Monday through Friday, our day shift. Our night shift runs from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and that's Monday through Thursday. And then our weekend shift runs from 6 p.m. on Friday till 6 a.m. on Monday. 173 of them calls are during the day. 187 were the night calls, and then the weekend calls and holidays, 140 and 18. Currently we lost some members due to moving out of town, things like that, but we've got 37 members currently. And you can see a breakdown there, 13 EMTs, 8 RNs, 1 paramedic, and 15 drivers and students. We do have 3 members that are going to join in our August 20th meeting, so our number will be back up to 40. And 3 of those are interested in taking the class, and we have 1 driver currently that's interested in taking the class in October. Over the past year, I broke it down to the volunteers, anybody that responded over 35 calls. As you can see, we had 3 volunteers, Ashley Miner, Patrick Burgess, and Becky Riekers responded over 140 some calls. Myself, I responded to 295 calls out of the 518. And then you can go down the list. Our groups are broke up. We have, when I started, we created groups. The weekend groups consist of about 4 to 5 people, and they're on call once every 5th weekend. When I first started in October 17, we were running every other weekend. So since we've gained our numbers, we can be on call once every 5th weekend, and they actually know what their schedule is a year in advance. So they know when they're going to be on the whole year long. And then we have 4 groups that run Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night. They're the same groups every night of the week that run. There's 4 to 5 people on those groups. They usually split up. We usually run only 3 per call, but that way if somebody needs to have the night off or whatever, they're good about splitting it up that way. The current ambulances that we have, the older ambulance is a 2005 diesel. It's got 132,000 miles on it. It has a power load system and has the older defib and the monitor in it. Our main rig, which we use on probably 90% of the calls, is a 2015, but it already has 77,000 miles on it. We do have a new LifePak 15, which we acquired on a grant, and a Lucas CPR device, which we acquired on a grant in that rig. We have 13 extrication fire suits that we also acquired with the grant. We are also using these suits for the COVID-related response. We can, they qualify for that, so we don't have to buy extra gear for the EMTs to respond. They can be washed, and I do all the washing there at the fire station. So we try to keep it isolated. Our goals for next year, we'd like to add 4 more EMTs. Like to try to add 2 to 3 to 4 people every year. I hope we can get up the squad. A long-term goal would like to be up to about 45 members. Just makes it a little easier where we can stretch out and get more people on the weekends. The volunteers aren't so burdened. Look at replacing or remounting rig 2. If we do that, if we do that, what we would probably do is refurbish rig number 2. We would take the box off of that and have it refurbished, put a new chassis under it, and move rig 1 into rig 2's place. That saves us quite a little bit of money by doing that. The one that we have, the current, the 2015, that is a refurbished, remounted one. We're very happy with that. It's out of Arrow out of Rock Rapids. If we have any problems, they're here to take care of it right away, or if we have to run it up there, they give us a loaner ambulance during that period of time. So keeping it locally is really nice. We'd like to get some more extrication suits. I'll probably be working on a grant this after the first of the year on that. We'd like to update our LifePak to a 15. The LifePaks that are in the rig 2, they're the old MRXs Phillips, and they're starting to become obsolete. Phillips is starting to phase them out, so we've had them for quite a while. New power load system, and hopefully get another new Lucas device. Right now our Lucas device isn't kept in the rig. It's kept on a shelf, and if we have a call, we grab it. The reason we do that, if we're on a transfer, we leave the Lucas in town, so we have it in case we have another call. So that in a nutshell, like I said, it's been a busy year. That in a nutshell is what's been going on. Like I said, it's been a very busy year, and we've already, as of July 1 till now, we're at 75 calls already for this year. So we're averaging over a call and a half a day right now. So I'll have, if you have any questions, I'd try to answer them for you.
Do you have a time frame in mind that you're hoping to update rig 2?
What's that?
Do you have a time frame in mind that you would hope to update rig 2?
Not at this time. Hopefully, we were going on an 8-year schedule, but talking with Mike, we were maybe going to drop that down to a 7-year deal. That would be probably next year, but a lot of it depends on where we're at budget-wise, in the vehicle replacement fund. But I think we're okay there. So
Okay.
I guess that's probably next year if possible. So
How does the county kind of helps with that a little bit, but
Yeah.
what is their schedule?
Every year that, it used to be the county distributed, every 8 years they would give the different towns about $40,000, but they changed that 3 years ago. Now they went on a 10-year program where they give every transfer squad in the county $10,000 every year, and that goes towards your equipment placement. And I think this is going on, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the third year I believe we're getting funds, and that comes after the first of the year, I believe they allow that. So January 1st, we'll have 30,000 from them from the last 3 years. So, but they'll continue to do that 10,000 a year for 10 years. So.
Jeff, a lot of these, obviously, boy, over half your calls, these volunteers are going out at night and then having to work the next day. And obviously obviously you said 45% of these are transfers. And so as our hospital gets, as our hospital programming gets larger, I would imagine transfers are going to get more as we're serving Alcester and Akron and Hudson and more neighborly communities. That would seem to impact our volunteerism quite a bit, I would think.
Correct.
Just the transfer
Correct.
part of it.
I've been talking to Jason. We've had quite a few meetings, actually Mike and I and Jason, but I've had quite a few meetings with Jason to address this issue because he's aware of it, Mike's aware of it, I'm aware of it, with the amount of calls we have, at some point the hospital is going to have to probably provide some kind of manpower in order to do this. I try to, if it's a call that's not an emergency, they usually call me at night. So if it's like a 2, 3 o'clock in the morning transfer, they'll call me, and then I'll probably go if the volunteer doesn't want to go, because I can adjust my hours a little bit, So that's happened a few times. I can't give you a specific breakdown on the times, but most of them are before midnight, but we do get, a few after midnight. And like you said, they do have to go to work the next day. So we're trying to address that issue right now, so.
Because regionally, Rock Valley, Orange City, Sioux Center, there's really not an organization out there that just does transfers in a timely manner.
They do use, I would say there's probably, and I asked April, who's the head of the ER, in the last year they've probably 25 times used what they call Midwest Transport.
Okay.
They were originally out of Sheldon, but now they're out of T, South Dakota. So they do some of the transports that require an RN or a paramedic to go along. Most of our, some of the transports we have, it's mostly volunteer, but there's times that they do send an RN along, but we still have to have the volunteers go along. Sure. The RN just takes care of the medication and stuff, which we're not allowed to do at our level. So.
What do you got to do for the helipad at 21? I mean, couldn't
I'm sorry,
the helipad, you got 21 transfers to that?
Well, when the helicopter comes in, we have to secure it to make sure nobody, us and the police department secure it to make sure no kids or anybody that come up. But we have to transport the crew from the helicopter pad to the ER and then back to the helicopter pad with the patient. A lot of it is because of HIPAA. A lot of it is we don't want to walk them across the parking lot.
You actually drive them?
We're driving the ambulance from the helipad to the ER. And most of all of those calls are usually done with rig 2 because the power cot that we have in rig 1, we can't, the cots out of the helicopters will not work in that. We have to take rig 2. We take our cot out, put their cot in, transport them over, load the patient, and then bring them back. So.
Other thoughts or questions for Jeff while he's here?
You ever think think of having another full-time EMS person or something and
Well,
discuss that at all or anything, and so you wouldn't
I
have
guess the
volunteers?
discussions are going along with the hospital for them to staff somebody that could, through their system, that could help with the full-time, or help out with the hours and the transfers. So that's why the discussions are being had with the hospital.
Thinking if you had a full-time person at night, then you'd cover the whole
Yeah.
24 hours at least.
We,
Not having to have,
yeah.
I mean, that's not fair to have those volunteers having to work that much and they're working the next day.
The one benefit I have is I have a very dedicated staff of volunteers. They are, when I started in 2018, or 17, October, we had actually 12 active members. But the squad that I have now, they really love what they're doing, and very, very seldom do I get any complaints about going on calls from the
Great.
squad. I realize when you look at these numbers, 144 calls, but they are a very dedicated crew, and when I say the squad has been built up to the numbers, we did it. I didn't do it. We did it. The squad itself is everybody says they have the best squad in Northwest Iowa, but we do. We really do.
All right.
So.
That's great.
And Dr. Waddell is now,
We're transitioning. Dr. Nystrom is still the ambulance director, but Dr. Waddell is going to take over probably next week. He's going to be the director of Akron, Ireton, Hawarden, and then also Alcester. And I'm also helping Alcester to try to get their squad straightened around. That started this week. They're down to 4 members over there. They were down to 4 members. I've already recruited 4 more, so they're up to 8 now, EMTs and RNs. And they've got a bunch of firemen over there that want to take the class. They were struggling. We were responding to quite a few calls over there over the past year, and we had a meeting and we said things need to change because we can't be responsible, for constantly covering. And we understand you need help and we're willing to help you. But we made some changes over there. Alcester is bringing everything to Hawarden now instead of going to Sioux Falls. That's helped with their volunteers. So they bring everything here. Akron's bringing about half their people here now. Ireton brings about 60%. Hudson brings some. So, and our hospital's growing. Which is good for the community. But in those growing pains, EMS is we've got to make some tweaks and changes with that. So.
good, and I think that's going to be really nice for Dr. Waddell to be serving.
Correct.
That'll be great continuity for all the different entities.
And Dr. Nystrom was wonderful to work with. He was a great medical director, but he's getting close to retirement, and he passed the torch. Dr. Waddell is going to be very active. He's very excited about helping. Anytime I have a question, all I got to do is call him, and he's more than willing to help me and anybody on the squad. So it's going to be a real asset for the community and for the squad. So.
Well, obviously, pass our thanks on to all of your squad members.
Okay.
It's vital that their volunteerism and their commitment to Hawarden. So.
Yeah. And I want to personally thank all you guys for your support, and I want to thank Mike. He's been really good to work with, since I started here, and it just makes it a lot easier doing my job every day. So, all right. Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks,
your
Jeff.
time
Thank you.
very much. We'll move to agenda item number 4. This is a third reading of ordinance 723. Pretty appropriate. It's amending and pertaining to our ambulance rates. As we well know, we've done the first and second readings. This just helps us for reimbursement, correct, Mike?
Correct. It's what's allowable to be billed under insurance.
So moved.
There's been a motion by Travis. Is there a second? Second by Tim. I'll call for a roll call vote, please, for the third reading of ordinance 723.
Kurt,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Bucky,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, third reading of ordinance 723 passes. We'll get that signed tonight. Agenda item number 5 and 6 and 7 are all Iowa codification. This is a thing we do every year to keep up with state changes. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, as Iowa law changes, they update our ordinances with various little tweaks. None of these are new, they're just changes to Iowa law that would pass through to our municipal ordinance.
Okay, so we'll deal with the first reading of ordinance 724. This is amending the provisions pertaining to the standard penalty, just to what you get arrested for.
They raised the fine amount. They have a minimum and a maximum. They raised the minimum and the maximum fine amount that a judge can order for different violations.
Is there a motion for the first reading of ordinance 724?
So move.
Moved by Rob, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jen. A roll call vote, please, for the first reading in ordinance 724.
Bucky,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Kurth,
Aye.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
and Olson.
Aye.
On a 5-0 roll call vote, first reading of ordinance 724 passes. Agenda item number 6, first reading of ordinance 725 pertaining to tobacco use.
What they did was they basically raised the minimum age for tobacco use, possession, purchasing, anything to 21.
Seems logical. Is there a motion for the first reading of ordinance 725?
So moved.
Moved by Jen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis. Roll call vote then for the first reading of ordinance 725.
Feldhacker,
Aye.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
Bucky,
Aye.
and Kurth.
Aye.
That also passes 5-0. The last first reading of ordinance 726 is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances for animal control.
What they did was they added a few new definitions into the animal control law. Also made it illegal to mess with like electronic e-collars, dog fences, things like that. And for anybody to mess with any kind of rabies tag or anything, whether they, dog gets a rabies shot, they get a tag that says when it's expired. To change any of those or anybody else to tamper with it.
Okay. Is there a motion for the first reading of ordinance 726?
So moved.
Moved by Jen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by John. Roll call vote, please, for the first reading of ordinance 726.
Bergsma,
Aye.
Kurth,
Aye.
Bucky,
Aye.
Olson,
Aye.
and Feldhacker.
Aye.
The first reading of ordinance 726 then passes 5-0 on a roll call vote. Next agenda item is in regards to the special events application and the hold harmless agreement with Kyle Hoffman for a truck and tractor pull. Give us a background on that, would you, Mike?
Earlier in the year, I told you that the Hawarden events, our promotional association, gave up their lease on the events grounds to the south of town. And instead of going with another long-term lease with just one person, we want to encourage more of the use of that ground. So we've gone to a special events application and hold harmless agreement with the same amount of insurance coverage as we required with the year lease. So now when somebody wants to have an event like Kyle or like the next agenda item like the Derby Club, they'll fill these out, provide the proof of insurance. We'll take it to the council for their approval. They'll be able to use it for a period of days, maybe a week before and a couple days after to get cleaned up. And then that will expire and then the next person can use it if they want to. Where before it was just leased to one organization and it was kind of up to them whether they wanted to hold any other events out there. We just felt maybe we could get more use out of that ground.
And then, just as you mentioned, their setup and their cleanup and those types of things are pretty well defined in these applications.
It'll all fall within that.
Okay. And legally, Jim's good with all these things?
Jim reviewed it beforehand and
So moved.
Then motion by Travis, is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor of the approval of the special events application and hold harmless agreement with Kyle Hoffman, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Next agenda item is a similar thing for a demolition derby on Saturday, September the 5th. The local Demo Derby organization is holding this.
Yes, it's the same one. It says this Candace Freeze on there on Domination Motorsports. It's the same person that they have do their promotions.
Okay.
So it's the same one they've had for years.
Okay. And anything with that for fire and ambulance types of things, or is that all covered within the application?
It's all covered within the application.
Okay. Is there a motion for that approval?
So moved.
Moved by Rob, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor then of the approval of the special events application and hold harmless agreement for the demolition derby, say aye.
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 Those opposed? We wish both of those events well. Approval of the pay request to Hogan Construction, request number 11, for $123,167.50. Project's dwindling down, I think.
Yes, I think where they're talking next month, Travis, you bought that up?
Okay. Is there a motion for that pay request?
So moved.
Moved by Jen, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Travis, sorry, John.
All right.
Got to be fast here. All in favor then of the pay request number 11 to Hogan Construction, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Thank you, that passes 5-0. Kind of a nice change order for agenda item number 11. They decided they did not need to do some painting on the flooring.
Yeah, they didn't need to do the floors. They were in better shape than they thought and didn't need to do them.
So would anybody like to make a motion to save $10,195?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Jen, thank you. All in favor of that change order number 4 for Hogan Construction, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, that passes 5-0. We've got Carrie and Peterson back in town doing the South Loop. They have a pay request number 1 for the amount of $125,072.30. You or Travis want to talk about that project at all before they approve this?
Yeah, they've completed the bores under the dry creek, and they've completed some line installation along 3rd Street. They'll be working down Avenue L all the way down to 460th, which is the next round. So,
Okay.
yeah, this will be another good project to get that whole south feeder underground.
And we've used this company before. They've done
They were the very first, contractors.
a nice job for us as a community. Okay. Is there a motion for the pay request for Carrie and Peterson?
So moved.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Jen. All in favor of the pay request number 1, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that passes 5-0. Next on the agenda item is discussion of a hotel motel tax. We'll kind of pass it to Mike to give us an overview of what that may be and how that can help us.
Just an overview of the hotel motel tax. There's currently 164 cities in Iowa that currently have a hotel motel tax. And they range anywhere from 5 to 7%, with most of them being at the maximum 7%. The cities that have a hotel motel tax, as you know, our regular tax is 5%, and then we have 2 cents for local option tax on top of that. Well, if you have a hotel motel tax, that 2 cents comes off, so the regular tax is 5%, and then whatever you add on for the hotel motel. So if you did 7%, it'd be 12%. Iowa code allows a community to do this. You have to have a community-wide vote in order to implement a hotel motel tax, and they have to start at the either beginning of a calendar year or fiscal year. You can't have a vote in March and start at the 1st of April. So some communities find it very, very, very beneficial. You have to use half of the money for tourism-related different, two different rates that our motel is charging, and then also different occupancy rates to see what could be captured under that hotel motel tax. And as you can tell on that, at like a 10% occupancy rate throughout a year, you know, we could bring in a little over $10,000. And as the occupancy rate goes up, obviously the revenue captured could go up as well.
And where are they at for occupancy rate right now?
Right now, I think they're right at, well, right now they're really high because they got all these workers in
Right.
town, but on a normal year, probably about 30%.
I'm all for it. So, and I would be all for it at the 7%. But if we can bring revenue into the community that's going to help improve a way of life for our citizens, then I can't come up with a reason not to. So,
What is the process? We have to get it put on the ballot then?
Right, we have to, it'll have to be a special election. We can't do it till first week in March. And we have to let the county know 45 days prior to the election date that we want something put on the ballot. And then, of course, it's marketing within our community and things like that, because essentially it is up to the public whether they want to have this or not. So, but with this tax, it's not like many of your other taxes, because unless we're gonna stay in the motel, we're not paying it. It's for people that come in. And there, you know, there's gonna be trains of thought on both sides of, well, maybe people won't stay here, but if you look around, especially around us, Sioux Center, Orange City, Rock Valley, all currently have a hotel motel tax. Lamar's, you know, as more and more cities are looking for places for revenue, things like this are coming up to be road.
does this affect, like, camping within city limits? That doesn't,
Won't affect any of
Okay.
that. It doesn't affect apartments, it doesn't affect anything
Right.
like that. And there's even an option in there, say somebody gets a room at the motel and they're a long-term renter, I think it's 30 days, then they don't pay it after that.
I can see it being a good revenue source for improving our parks or trails or community attractions, plus whatever, like Calliope Village and stuff. So.
Right. I would agree. It's just, the amount of money that you're talking about is the same kind of money that we were dealing with during budget time.
Right.
And able to recoup some of that, and then we don't have to, it's not always a cut. We can keep moving on without touching our budget, so.
Well, as a traveler, I really hate it.
Yeah.
You go to all these hotels and they're sneaky little, oh yeah, you got $100 a night place, and all of a sudden it's 130 or 140 with all the excise tax. And so philosophically, I hate the idea, but everybody else is doing it, so I guess let the citizens decide.
Yep.
Well, that's the good part about it, because they'll have a chance to decide if they want to go for that or not.
The next step on it is if council has consensus, that's something they want to do, we got to have a resolution to move forward with it. That'll have to be at an upcoming meeting at some point. And then marketing the idea to the community and things like that. But, first week in March is if this is a general election, then they'll allow you to put a bunch of other stuff on.
Know what an election costs? Have you ever figured out what it costs to put it together?
You know, I think we've been budgeting probably about 2,500, but I don't think it's hit that yet.
Any other conversation in regards to this? Okay, it sounds like maybe there's kind of a consensus that we move forward with having a resolution and saying that the council's in favor of it to move forward with that. Mr. Van Manen's letter was pretty succinct in Rock Valley's information too. I thought that was very helpful for what you put in, since they just did it there, so. Okay, we will then move on. Thank you for your conversation with that. We're going to move on to agenda item number 14, discussion of the local option sales tax revenue. And we're going to kind of start with Mike and maybe give us, this is the 25th year of this, so give us a little bit of, I know we have some of that in our packet, but give us some history of that if you would, so the public's aware of it also.
Sure. In October of 1995, or maybe it was August of 1995, I believe it started in October, the local option sales tax was voted upon the community of Hawarden. And as more and more communities signed on to the local option sales tax, originally when it started, the council had to do the ballot line. Well, at that time, our hospital was struggling and in debt, and so they designated that at that time to go to Hawarden Community Hospital at that time for the furtherance of the healthcare in the community. And easy sell, you know, our hospital's important to our community. Started out the first year was $133,000 in local option sales tax. They refigured how they did it. It used to be the sales tax that was collected in your community. Now it's more, the state's got a formula, and it's more regionally, and I think it's countywide that they figure it, and then it's split. So the fiscal year we just got done with, for example, was $406,410.06. So as we can tell, that number has grown quite a bit in 25 years. So it's probably just prudent that we look at that, and is that still true then what is today? That's why it's on the agenda.
Well, I believe myself and Rick and John got to meet with the Hawarden board before this COVID-19 thing hit, and that was before they purchased the Akron clinic down there, and there was some discussion about that, and I thought it was good. I thought it was good to see what their idea was, and I don't know that they really realized, you know, how much revenue that was taken in over those years. So as far as, you know, my thoughts on it, you know, as that revenue continues to grow, I think you could probably, you know, if we could use 25% of that total income coming in, or 30 or somewhere in there, that would go a long ways for economic development and projects that we want to do in the city of Hawarden. So I guess I think we could need to pursue that discussion even farther. I think once COVID hit, it kind of died out, but now I think that we should definitely look to that. That fund's grown a lot, you know, and I'm sure their expenses have gone up a lot too, but at the same time, I think we could benefit and they could benefit from it. So.
To date, as of the June payment, it was $6,111,000 that has been brought into the community with local option. So it's definitely been a great thing for communities.
Mm-hmm.
I just think over 25 years, communities change. Their needs change. The hospital changes. It's now solvent. It's not even close to in the position it was. It's not saying that this money isn't best used there, but as the community grows or expands, I think we have to allow citizens a chance at some point in time to say, do we want to continue down this track, or do we need to course correct about some of it? So that's kind of why I was glad to see the discussion, but I guess I'm interested, what are next steps? What do we do, or what options do we have to do next?
Well, there's several options you have. I mean, you can continue the talks with either the small subcommittees, or maybe you could meet as board to board, full board to full board. And obviously it have to be an open meeting, and that to be published, but, you know, it's just conversations to have to, if you feel strongly about sharing that, to continue the talks. there's several different steps. I believe in a previous meeting, it was brought up, and I did some checking with our attorneys out of Des Moines, and one of the first things they said, we sent them our ballot language, and they said, your ballot language is very unusual, that it would go to one entity forever. But, you know, they also had some, you know, there's other things you can do, a revote. Let's say the council created a new ballot language, and the ballot language said that it gets split 50-50 with Calliope Village and the hospital. And we brought that to a public vote, and that vote failed. Then it stays right where it is. It doesn't go away. It stays with going to Hawarden Regional Health. So we don't have to, one of the initial thoughts that in a conversation I had was you had to repeal it. You don't have to repeal it. It's just a reconsideration vote is what it is. So again, a public vote. I think maybe just through conversations with the two boards though, hopefully something can be worked out. It does say in the ballot language that it goes to Hayward Community Hospital unless there's a time where they no longer need it, and it can be jointly worked out to benefit other parts of the community.
That would certainly seem to be the best first walking step, would it not?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Have our boards meet as boards and have conversation and see, you know, because their board obviously knows much better than we do how that entity is doing. And our board knows much better than they do how,
Yep.
you know, city finances are going. And so have some good conversation.
And hopefully it's just an opportunity for us to work together to maybe there is something that we both can do to help with certain things here.
What's good for the hospital is good for the city. What's
Yep.
good for the city is good for the hospital and the school.
Yep.
And you know, we're kind of all in the pool together. And
Yep.
Be agreeable to council then and staff that we ask the Hawarden Regional Healthcare Board to come and have a special meeting just in regards to the local option sales tax?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, even at the time value of money with inflation corrections, we just about doubled the contribution. So even that's worth talking about, let alone what it could be just scaling that back. So.
Right, John? Timing-wise for council members, just set a time to get it completed with that board, and then obviously have to notify 24 hours in advance, and probably have it at maybe a similar time as a council meeting, as far as, you know, that way the public, if they're interested, can be a part of it, obviously, because
we want, you know, we would want to encourage all of their board as well to be there, so we try and make it at a convenient time for everybody.
okay.
Good.
Any other discussion with that? I don't want to ramrod just going right to that, but seems to be a good start with that. You all right?
Yep, go for it.
Okay. And Tim, I see Tim's ears perked up when you said, you know, Calliope Village. That was an example.
There's a lot of things that we could use it, but we don't need it at Calliope Village. There's too many important things that are in dire need. We've got everything under control pretty good there.
And thanks for our regard, thanks for the history of that, getting that all together, and the ballot information, all those types of things. That's very helpful. 25 years have gone quickly. Yeah, of course, it was my birthday here. And that's gone quickly, too, by the way. We'll move on to consent agenda. Brian Engelman would like to renew a Class C liquor license, and Adam Waterman at the other bar would also like to renew a Class C liquor license. And as usual, if it's on our agenda, paperwork is all completed, correct? Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Rob. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Travis. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That passes 5-0. Following adjournment, like the black balloons here, there is black cake apparently in honor of my birthday, and I appreciate that very much. Our next regular meeting then will be August the 26th. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Moved by Rob. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Jen. Thanks again. We appreciate your time. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Those opposed? We're out of here. Thanks.